Well, hey there. Welcome to the Paw Paw Chronicles and More with Jim. This is the more part. Well, today I have a friend of mine, Kevin Paymer, over, and we're going to talk about grafting, and we're going to try and graft persimmons. And let's go ahead and get this tree tube off. What do you think about that tree, Kev?
That's a nice tree.
Ain't that pretty?
It is. A lot of new growth.
This right here, by the way, was planted last year, and it was only about 8 inches tall. I planted it last year in the spring, and that just goes to show you just how fast these trees will grow once you put them in the ground. That has really taken on the growth. That tree tube, by the way, is 5 foot tall, and the tree from the top of the tree tube on up is probably about another 18 inches. So it's over 6 foot tall. We're going to take a look at what the inside of this tree looks like. Throw that over to the side. Got ourselves an earwig floating around in there. Man, look at the shank on that. That is just perfect.
Straight.
Them tree tubes do a good job at that. Hold on to that stick for a minute, Kev. And what I'm going to do, pull this out of the way. We're not going to put the tree tube back on there because I want to put a fence over it to eyeball it. Because once I graft it, you see this little bud right here, Kev?
Yeah.
And this little bud right here, this and down here. What'll happen is it'll try to push bud down this shank, and we don't want that. I'm going to keep all that knocked off so the energy will go from what it's trying to feed on the rootstock and go into the scion wood that we're going to be using. Now, one of the things I'm going to do, I've already, have a seat, Kev. Or is that kind of hard for you?
It's on a little bit of a hill. I'm sure-footed as a goat, though.
I've been busy sterilizing pots that I was working on transplanting. Just a sec, Kev, I'll help you out. You got to sanitize. All the tools have already been sanitized. I spent some time down there to do that, and I'm going to hold that. Shot of whiskey, would you?
I think I'll pass.
Yeah, that's funny how they did that sanitizing stuff like they did. Well, it's standing up okay on its own for a minute. It'll be all right. Oh, there. Now that we got that, let's set that behind the bags out of the sunlight because that's 80% alcohol. And I have scion wood here, and the scion wood is marked. And what I want to do is try to find a piece of scion wood that's going to match up to this right here. And let me see here. Well, it's nice and thick. Ruby. I've already grafted ruby. We're going to put this on the smaller one. That's a Lehman's Delight 100-46. I was just talking to somebody about that a little bit ago.
That's a nice scion wood.
That's nice and thick. That's
Yeah.
what you want. You know what? I'm going to go with this. Let's see if I got one a little bigger. And I do. And I really don't want to go that high up. Looks like I'm going to have to utilize this ruby after all. I've got plenty of scion wood down here that I can use. See how ruby is the right size.
Yeah.
It matches up to it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my snip, since it's a two-sided snip like this right here, and watch your fingers there for a minute, Kev. I got a hold of it. I'm going to walk up through here, and I want to find where I can match the best. I think let's match it up right about here, maybe a little further up. Oh, turn them around because I want that flat. Now what we're going to do is we're going to wait just a sec, and the reason being is we want to see if we're going to have what they call bleeding. a lot of sap being pushed. And that's the thing about persimmons. You have to wait until it's hot and dry. We've had 2 days in a row 85, and then the day after was 86, no rain at all, and today it's supposed to get up to 87. And we've had 3 hot days, and that's looking wet, but it's not pushing. That's just what you want it to look like. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the scion wood and that, and I'm just going to come up just a little bit further on the scion wood because I'm trying to match it up. And one of the things that you'll find is whenever we're dealing with persimmons, it ain't like dealing with pawpaw. The pawpaw itself is pretty soft wood compared to this. Now the graft that I'm going to try to do with this is a graft that Cliff England does. And just because I'm so conscious about, that's a lot harder than a pawpaw. I want to make sure that this is kind of cleaned up a little bit. Look how pretty and green that is.
It is.
That is really something.
No brown spots at all.
Yeah. Now, we got a pretty good match right there, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, really close.
And what I want to do is I'm going to take my knife, which, by the way, it has been sterilized, and I'm going to utilize the knife that came from Project Pawpaw. I've used it, like I said earlier, on a pawpaw graft, and my word, man, that's a sharp knife. That's a nice knife for
It's a pretty knife.
Yeah. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my left on this one side, and I'm going to do a slit right up the side, just like that. And then I'm going to come on this side, the opposite side, straight across from it, and do another slit right down the side. Basically the same distance. And then this is where bark slip comes in handy. I'm going to take my knife and I'm gently going to go under the bark, around it. Hit this side. There we have it. We opened it up. Now I'm going to take the back side of the knife, the budding side. Which, let me take a look at this other knife. I think it's a little bit thinner. This knife here is thinner than that one when it comes to the budding knife. Or the bud side. I guess I use it for chip budding. I don't know. I don't use it for anything but what I'm doing right now. And that bark is trying to split on me. That's okay, because I'm just going to get a hold of it with both fingers. And it's splitting, but that's all right. It's not going to hurt it. There we go. Look how nice and wet that is.
Yes.
A lot of moisture.
You can really see the cambium there.
Yeah, you can really see the cambium. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this other knife because it's extremely sharp. I love this knife. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to cut a whip. Here's a whip in your eye. And like I said, man, that is a lot harder wood than what a pawpaw is. And I'm trying to make it nice and long cut with that. I want that cut nice and long. And because I don't want it all jagged, I just want that one smooth cut. And that's pretty good. That's good enough.
Looks very smooth.
Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the scion and I'm going to do a corresponding cut, another whip. Doing the same thing. Now when it comes to grafting persimmons, you got to be a little bit more careful because that wood is so hard. And now that I've done that, I'm going to come to the back side and I'm just going to do a chip. Just like that. And what I like to do is just very lightly expose some of that cambium. Get that green. There you go. I think that'll do it.
Just exposing more contact area, aren't you?
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want that contact area. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut where I want to, how much of this I want to use. And I'll break these out once again. And I want to use 2 buds. I don't know if this bud will push or not, and that's really growing. So I'll go up here to this 3rd bud and just clip straight across there, just like that. And then I'm going to stick this right back into the bottle I have set up. And then I got some bands right here. These are 20 gauge. They're extremely heavy gauge bands. Good for really tight scenario. We'll take one out, set it right here. I'm going to get a piece of parafilm, preferably this perforated parafilm. I'm just going to pull a piece off. Set that down to the side. And then we're going to try to do a little bit of a wrap. We want one, which I really don't think I have to worry about it as much with the persimmon because of the aggressive nature of the bud that's on that persimmon. But I want to try and keep just one layer of parafilm on there, just like that. And you see what I got going on there. You see I got one layer, and I got the entire scion covered. I don't want that exposed. I want to try and keep that moist. And I'm trying hard not to touch that. And I don't want to touch the inside of this. So I'm going to put the two together just like that and have a look. And I got a little bit of a curl. It's like a scoop. Let's try to get rid of that scoop. It's an air pocket. Had a little bit of a scoop there to where they weren't making that contact I wanted to make. You want them to fit flat. And that's pretty flat.
Yes, it is.
Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up here. And while I got it up here, I'm going to take this parafilm. I'm going to stretch it. You know something I noticed? We're covering up this bud. We don't want to cover the bud up. So, I'm going to take my knife or my snips and I'm going to come down just a little bit and snip that off. Because we don't need that making contact there. We want it to make contact here.
Green on green.
You can see that contact.
Yes.
You got contact. And now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull parafilm around. And the parafilm split, that's okay. That's why we have a roll.
Yes.
I'm not going to go with the perforated. This is the same stuff. This one right here, whenever you take it off, put your thumb on there and just snatch it.
So you're not stretching it.
Yeah, it'll keep stretching on you, and it'd be like a strand. And I'm going to come back down here where I made the union, and I'll stretch it as I'm pulling it. And I want to take it all the way down to where you see where that slit is.
Yes.
I want to cover that slit, just like that. And then I want to uncover this bud here, because that bud there is going to try to push, and I'm going to snatch it off.
Knock it off.
Yeah. And it'll come up. Did I get the other side? Yes, I did. Well, that's a pretty fit.
Yeah.
Would you say so?
If it wasn't perfect, it was darn close to perfect.
Yeah. Now, and you want to know something? I have 4-inch and 8-inch. I'm going to use the 8-inch, and I'm going to tell you why. I was just a little bit concerned about the two beveled cuts matching just the way I want them to. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull them tight together. I want them to sail low. And I'm going to start up here. I'm going to get my rubber band just to get it started. Just like that. I'm going to stretch it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the rubber band out here. You see how far that's stretching? And I'm going to stretch that rubber band, 1 wrap, 2 wraps, 3 wraps. I got 3 wraps right there. Now I'm going to put my finger on there, because you see how that's twisting, Kevin?
Yeah, it is.
We don't want that to twist on there like that, so I let it go. You see I got an awful lot of rubber band left over. 1 wrap. Let me get this started again. All right. 2, 3, 4. I was able to get 4 that time.
Now if that twists and you don't catch it, you got a good chance of cutting in and girdling the tree.
We don't want that.
And we don't want that.
No. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way back up, because working my way back up and stretching this at the same time, what I'm doing is I'm really squeezing that together. We want that nice tight fit, and this will end up getting cut off later on. I'm going to work my way right back up, and I'm making sure that I'm layering the rubber band where roughly around half that rubber band is layered right on top of what I just twisted around there. And then I'm going to keep right on wrapping upwards. We got a good tight fit.
That is tight.
I ain't got to worry about a bird coming along and knocking that off, because something I am going to do, and I'm going to go ahead and work my way up just a little bit further. See right here?
Yes.
That's where the whip began.
Okay.
And I want to come up here to that. I want to pull that too. I want to pull all of it. I want that pulled just like that. Now, there's a trick to your rubber band. I can go over my thumb, wrap it, and go, and then go under my thumb, but I get a lot of twisting when I do that. But I'm going to go ahead and do 1 more, maybe 2 more wraps, and then I'm going to let the rubber band go. And I'm trying to keep the rubber band flat, and it's kind of hard to do that, but I'm going to go ahead and put my finger back here, and I'm going to catch a hold of it, just like that.
Kind of like tying a balloon.
And I pretty much kept it flat, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
So,
Very nice.
and just for good measure, because the rubber band is exposed to the sun, I'll take just a little bit of parafilm, and I want to cover the rubber band a little bit, because the sun will cause that rubber band to decay, and we don't want that rubber band decaying too fast. Not to mention, it kind of helps to cover that wound a little bit better. And what will happen is I will have to come out here and cut that rubber band off.
About what kind of time frame to cut the rubber band?
We're looking roughly around 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
I would say 6 weeks with this because it's such a heavy gauge rubber band, but I'll monitor that as it grows. I got a little bit of exposure right there where that parafilm kind of split on it. Just a hair, and I want to cover that up. And I'm going to go around that bud just like that. And I'll tell you what I'm seeing is the sap is pushing, starting to get wet right here.
Yeah, I see that.
And getting wet right there. So we got sap pushing up into the scion, and let's hope we don't have a problem with that trying to bleed itself out. See how wet it's getting right there?
Yeah, it is.
It's turning wet.
That wouldn't be condensation since it's kind of humid today, or?
No, that would be the sap.
Okay.
And it didn't look like it was going to bleed, but we got a little bit of a bleed. That's okay, we're going to leave it alone because we already got it done. And we're going to cross our fingers and hope that that's going to be okay. Let me put the stuff back in here real quick, Kevin.
Okay.
And then cover that up so it's not in the sun. We'll back this chair up a little bit. Put this back behind the bag so it's not in the sun. And then I had the tree tube on there. Now I'm going to put the fence on there, and the reason why I want the fence on it, can you hold that fence right there just for a minute, Kev? I'm going to attempt to put this post right back into the hole it came from. And the reason why I'm using the fence, like I said, is so I can monitor. It'd be hard for me to monitor this while the tree tube is on it.
Yeah, you wouldn't see the the buds down below there developing that you want to knock off.
Right. And if I try to keep pulling the tree tube up to do that, I could be knocking all around that scion, and I don't want to do that. Grab a tag. What did we say that was, Kev?
Oh boy. Ruby.
A friend of mine went to a scion trade show, and he picked that up for me. And today is what, the 21st?
It is. It is the 21st.
5/21/24. And that's because you want to keep this stuff marked. You want to keep track of the work that you did. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it on the stake, and we're going to cross our fingers and hope that makes it, because if it does, it'll graduate into a metal permanent stamped out stick.
Very nice.
Well, there you have it. My name's Jim. If you like what you see, subscribe. Any comments or questions that you may have, I welcome. Y'all have a God blessed day. Let's move on to the next one, Kev.
Yes, sir.